There's been a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 news lately, and I don't really talk about Nintendo Switch 2 stuff, mainly because a lot of it is unsubstantiated and tenuous at best, so I generally don't talk about them. But there've been so many interesting ones and some pretty compelling stuff that sort of solidifies the Nintendo Switch 2's controllers at the very least. It's been long enough since the last time I talked about Switch 2 news that I felt maybe it's time to look back and see what new is going on, and there's been some interesting developments. The manufacturer behind the infamously known Joy-Con analog sticks that have failed near constantly for me and succumbed to Joy-Con drift have put in patents that were approved and submitted back in 2023 and approved in 2024, basically showing off new analog stick designs for better reliability, better design in what sounds like Hall effect analog sticks, which, I'll be honest, I am super excited about. I didn't really think Nintendo would be the kind of company that would sort of jump into more advanced technologies like that, and it's super exciting. Within those patents for those controllers, we've also seen some other parts of it, like how it will use a magnetic attach system to sort of, attach the controllers. And I'm super interested to see how that works out, because magnets can be very powerful, and it could be annoying or too easy to pop off these controllers. That does mean Joy-Con compatibility will be broken, but I'd be interested to see if there's some sort of attachment that'll be made that you can slide onto the rails of the Joy-Cons that turn them into these magnetic attached controllers that can somehow pass the data and charging information to the Joy-Con, which I'd be super interested to see, because I'm sure that there will be some sort of third-party solution, but I would vastly prefer a first-party solution if that does happen to be the case. One of the signs that this is true, though, is that Nintendo has released a new accessory for the Nintendo Switch, and I'll be honest, I am rather shocked that they didn't release this before, but about a month ago, they released a separate Joy-Con charger. And like I said, I'll be honest, I thought they released this, and I've seen so many separate Joy-Con chargers people just have plugged into their Switches. But it turns out most of those weren't ever originally, officialized by Nintendo. So when Nintendo released this, I didn't initially understand this at all. I just assumed that they were just updating it, or that they were just like, oh, this is our version, and Hori had their one that we officially licensed or something or other. But no, this is Nintendo's only officially licensed Joy-Con charger that is separate from the Switch. People are accepting that as sort of like, see, Nintendo is making this so you can use and charge your Joy-Cons for the Switch 2, which will break Joy-Con compatibility. Another thing being rumored is there will be a Nintendo Direct in September, and that is when Nintendo will unveil the Nintendo Switch 2. I still think this is rather dubious, and my expectations aren't high, especially considering how President Furukawa has been quite liberal on Twitter and by talking about when and if a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct will be happening. Another thing that they've been discussing is the pricing for the Nintendo Switch 2, and we have no idea what the actual Nintendo Switch 2 is going to cost at the moment, but there have been discussions and talks from Nintendo about how they're going to be taking, Nintendo Switch 2 pricing going forward, because the Nintendo Switch currently has a problem where, due to the yen in Japan being severely undervalued, it does cost a lot more to buy a Nintendo Switch in Japan than it does here. And there are similar problems for the Nintendo Switch Lite in Europe being gigantically more expensive to spend that money on a Nintendo Switch Lite in Europe versus just buying a normal Nintendo Switch, which is nearly the same price. My numbers could be wrong though, I am very much American. Basically though, Nintendo was talking about how they are going to evaluate the situation once the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. Hopefully they'll adjust pricing so it is easy enough to acquire and, purchase one of these devices when they eventually come out next year, but I'm not holding my breath, especially considering how Nintendo does do these kinds of things all the time. Rumors that have me really interested in the Nintendo Switch 2 is the power. The Nintendo Switch has been rumored to no end and leaked in shipping manifests details of the SoC have been wildly spread around the internet, and it's all but confirmed that the NVIDIA T38 chip is going to be used as the Nintendo Switch 2's SoC. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty excited about that. Though not the most powerful, it is still going to be so much more powerful than the outgoing model. To my understanding, the current Nintendo Switch, when docked, is like 0.91 teraflops worth of compute power, and with these new chips, should be around 4 point something teraflops of potential graphics horsepower, which is amazing. That is the same amount found in the Xbox Series S. But just because they share the same amount of teraflops doesn't necessarily mean they are expected to perform the same. Some examples of similarly spec'd devices on the PC side, the closest similarity to the T238 chip found in the Nintendo Switch 2 is basically an RTX 2050, which it has similar architectures, it has less CUDA cores, but has a higher boost frequency. So for all intents and purposes, they are very similar, but understand that with the Switch 2, there will be levels of optimization and specialization that hardware will have that we don't necessarily quite know yet. While the RTX 2050 isn't a one-for-one, example of what the Switch 2's power will be, it is very impressive for a low-end graphics chip. I can't wait to see what developers will do when they have all this extra power. And unlike others, I am not so excited about the potential of 4K. And that's not to say that it would be cool, I'm just being more realistic. I don't think Nintendo's gonna do 4K 60 when docked. I just feel like that's impractical. I think it will be an option, but I don't think very many developers will take advantage of that, 4 years down the line. I don't think long-term the Switch 2 will be able to maintain that promise. There's like 3 games on PS5 that do 8K, and that's all over the PS5's box. It's just says 8K high-res gaming, and it just doesn't do that. You can't use 3 games as like, oh, it can. I just feel that's a bit disingenuous. And DLSS, while amazing, I feel like is a technical feature that I don't think Nintendo themselves will take that much advantage of. They have already used FSR in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which was used to dramatically improve performance. And I'm sure they'll continue to use FSR because it's easier to implement in most games. Sure, it is an NVIDIA-based system, but FSR is just easier to implement. DLSS requires training basically an AI model on your game. I could be wrong though, that is how I understood DLSS was to function back in the day. You basically trained some machine learning algorithm data on your game, and it took a while for developers to, enable DLSS functionality. But I could be wrong. DLSS 3 and 3.1 probably have dramatically eased the burden in the game development side of things, so hopefully if they do want to use DLSS, they can. But I just feel like that is a very technical feature that Nintendo might not take advantage of. While FSR is all but just a sort of switch you just enable and then boom, it's doing its thing. While not the prettiest results, it is functional, and Nintendo has used it before, so I feel like that's the route they're more likely to go down. And having this upscaling tech inside the dock I also feel is kinda dumb. It would overcomplicate the whole development process and add extra cost to the dock that was already pretty darn expensive. Other leaks is that the Switch 2 is going to be fanless, which I would be super interested to see because technically the most powerful fanless device that's meant for gaming is technically the PS Vita when you think about it, because that is the last purely fanless mobile gaming system that is more powerful than the 3DS and hasn't seen any successor if you want to count the PlayStation Portal, but that only streams games, so I don't, but if you wanna, you technically could. If the Switch 2 is going to be fanless, that would honestly be amazing. I would love to see that. That would dramatically reduce power consumption, increase battery life. Cooling would be concerning, especially if it's expected to be a 1080p display mixed with high-end gaming components in it and whatnot. So I would be concerned a little bit, but if it means having superb battery life, I'll take that, honestly. These sacrifices need to be made if that is the case. So I'm okay with that. What do you guys think, though, all about these Nintendo Switch 2 rumors and leaks and whatnot? What was your favorite one? Which one do you hope is the most true? I would love to hear what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media coverage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.